concentration, and memory. This breath sequence intends to create mental stability, balance the hemispheres of the brain, and boost our ability to concentrate while limiting our tendency to be distracted. Through several breathing techniques, we increase attentiveness, decrease stress hormones, and generate a massive boost of nitric oxide. One of the many benefits of nitric oxide is its effectiveness as a neurotransmitter, which functions to boost our mental clarity, thought, fluency, creativity, and ability to retain knowledge. The mind is like any other muscle. To function optimally, it must be exercised. We wouldn't do well if we tried to run a marathon without training for it. Similarly, if we don't train the mind, it becomes weak, lazy, impulsive, and easily distracted. If we want to be able to focus our thoughts, direct our attention, expand creativity, and increase our capacity to learn and remember complex ideas and information, we need to understand the tool that we use to accomplish them. The mind is the most powerful and complex tool at our disposal, yet most of us aren't aware of how little control we have of our mind or how to regain that control. Distractions, emotions, and anxiety affect our ability to concentrate, learn, and form new memories. I used to spend a lot of time creating distractions. I called it multitasking. But multitasking is just an exploitation of our inability to maintain focus on a singular task. I remember times when I would sit on the couch simultaneously watching television, texting, and scrolling the internet. When I needed to focus on something or be creative, my mind would seek out every distraction it could find because I had trained it to be distracted. If we try to read something but keep switching our attention to something else and then return to what we were reading, we will probably have to go back and reread what we have already read. Our inability to stay focused on one task is a massive waste of time. To concentrate on one thing, the brain uses its working memory. If we are constantly switching between tasks, the mind has to dump the previous task and reload the new one into its working memory. The more we do that, the less productive the mind is and the more time it takes to accomplish each thing. We might call it multitasking, but multitasking is a misnomer. We are rapidly switching tasks, and each switch comes with a penalty, both in the time it takes to refocus and in our ability to retain the information. Attention is a limited resource that the mind allocates to the things it finds most important. If we don't assign to it what is essential, the mind will continue to search for something that it thinks is more relevant to the situation. Attention comes from intention. Clear intention lets the mind know what we consider to be the most important. Our intention illuminates the path along which we want our attention to follow. The more clear the path, the easier it is for the mind to stay on task. When we understand the ways in which the mind wants to wander, we are quicker at redirecting it when it strays. Life is the direct result of where we focus our attention. If we cannot direct our attention to manifest our purpose and desires, then life becomes very challenging. One of the most effective and powerful ways to train the mind is through meditation and pranayama. Meditation is the process of observing the mind and noticing how it moves, what it is attracted to, and how to bring it back to a seemingly uninteresting task, like being aware of the breath. Obviously, there is much more to meditation. However, to understand the mind, we need to step back and observe what it naturally does. We may never truly comprehend the mind, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Trying to fully understand the mind is like searching for the end of the universe. We'll never find it, but its search deepens our understanding of it and so much more. Only through broadening our awareness can we hope to gain a better perspective on what we know or think is true. Our perspective leads to clarity, which creates creativity, and I feel that being able to harness the mind's creativity is one of the greatest gifts the mind has to offer. The breath is more powerful than just giving the mind something to focus on during meditation. The breath has the ability to influence our energy so that we are more alert and it's easier to focus, as well as stabilizes our emotions and neutralizes feelings of stress and anxiety, making it easier to learn and form new memories. We can use the breath to balance the hemispheres of our brain, which enables creativity. Through breathing, we can increase the production and the absorption of nitric oxide, a powerful neurotransmitter that increases mental clarity and the ability to learn and retain information. As stated earlier in this book, the mind follows the breath. If we want to harness the power of the mind, we need to wield the power of the breath. Warm-up. The warm-up begins with modified box breathing. The goal is to center the mind, balance the emotional state, lower stress hormones, and lower anxiety. Equal ratio breathing works to calm the mind, balance the autonomic nervous system, and promote the sattva guna. Stress and anxiety can significantly inhibit our ability to focus and retain new memories, which is one reason it is so challenging to study for an important test, prepare for a significant presentation, or remember the details of an argument. We might think that we remember an argument clearly, but every heated discussion I've had with a partner yielded two very different recollections when we revisited the debate. We also remember emotions much more strongly than we remember facts. So, if we are in an emotional state, we are more likely to recall how we felt rather than the information we were trying to absorb or the factual happenings of an event. This breath practice increases nitric oxide production and absorption, which helps smooth out our emotional state as well as increase our ability to concentrate and learn. This practice begins with a relatively easy equal breath ratio of 5 to 5 to 5 to 5 and maintains this ratio through the 5-minute duration of the warm-up. Bharamari Pranayama is added during the exhalation, which increases the cultivation of nitric oxide by 15-fold. The 5-second outer retention allows nitric oxide to build up even more before taking the next inhalation, which carries the nitric oxide into the lungs and throughout the bloodstream to be delivered to the brain and body tissues. You will continue to use this extended exhalation technique, the Bharamari breath, in the vitalizing component and cool down in order to fully capitalize on the powerful effects of nitric oxide. Heat building. This component intends to increase our energy levels to heighten awareness, sharpen focus, and create mental clarity by invigorating the mind and body. This practice begins with the Bhastrika breath to quickly stimulate the sympathetic nervous system and increase Rajas energy. The Rajas guna is the energetic quality that provides the drive to achieve our goals and maintain our motivation to see them to completion. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for alertness. When we activate the sympathetic response, we can shut out distractions and focus on the task at hand. When we play sports or do anything competitive, we have an extremely high sense of awareness and focus, which is a result of the activation of the sympathetic response. Bhastrika also quickly expels CO2 and increases blood pH, constricting the blood vessels and decreasing the amount of oxygen available to the brain, which in this case is an unwanted effect not conducive to learning. To balance the adverse effects of the practice, we add an outer retention using Uddiyana Bandha. The outer retention rapidly restores CO2 levels and normalizes blood pH. Uddiyana Bandha is related to our third chakra, which governs willpower and mental vigor and maintains our Rajasic energy while stabilizing our sympathetic response. Essentially, it's like drinking a few large cups of coffee and feeling extra alert, but without getting the jittery side effects. The heat building component begins with the 30 seconds of Bhastrika Pranayama, where you pump the belly like a bellows at a rate of 1 to 2 breaths per second, followed by a deep inhalation and a complete exhalation. On the exhale, tuck your chin and engage Jandalahara Bandha, and then Uddiyana Bandha by pulling the lowly belly in towards the spine. Hold the outer retention for 15 seconds. Repeat for 6 breath cycles or approximately 5 minutes. Vitalizing. The vitalizing component uses an unequal breath ratio combined with Bharamari breath with the primary intent of increasing the volume and intake of nitric oxide. The humming vibration from Bharamari stimulates the production and gas exchange of nitric oxide in the paranasal sinus. Begin the breath practice with a slow 10-second inhalation that is soft and smooth, similarly to how you would smell a perfume. You usually wouldn't take a fast, deep inhalation when smelling a fragrance. More likely, you would inhale slowly and allow the scent to pass over your smell receptors. Breathing in slowly and softly increases the amount of nitric oxide in the nasal cavity and paranasal sinus. The inhale is followed by a 20-second inner retention. This longer retention gives the lungs more time to absorb the nitric oxide and increases CO2 levels, which expands the blood vessels and delivers more oxygen to the brain. Nitric oxide also increases the uptake of oxygen by 10 to 20%. If the inner retention feels too challenging to maintain, or if you feel like you need to exhale quickly, then shorten the retention. Physiologically, it's more beneficial for the goal of this practice to maintain slow, smooth inhalations and exhalations than it is to hold longer kumbhakas. After the inner retention, you move into the most important component of this practice, the Bharamari exhalation, which is 10 seconds long to match the inhalation. The slow exhale with the Bharamari breath creates nitric oxide as well as moving you into a sattvic state. The primary quality of sattva is balance and harmony in the present moment. Most distracting thoughts take you out of the present moment and into irrelevant stories that disturb your concentration. This sattvic aspect of the breath is a powerful component to help you maintain focus and attention. When you exhale with the humming sound, try to push the vibration upward into the nasal cavity and raise the frequency of the sound. Higher resonance creates more vibration and increases nitric oxide levels. After the exhalation, pause for a short 5-second outer retention to allow a little time for nitric oxide to build up in the nasal cavity. Repeat this breath cycle for 6 to 12 rounds or 5 to 10 minutes. Cool down. The cool down uses modified alternate nostril breathing to balance the mind and harness the full potential of the logical and imaginative aspects of the self. The brain has two hemispheres. The left side is linked to logic, numbers, shapes, and analysis, while the right is connected to imagination, rhythm, language, and color. It was once thought that the right side was linked to creativity, but we now know that we use the full capacity of the brain to create. The more balanced the mind is, the faster we can generate thoughts and express ideas. When we increase thought fluency, creativity flows from us naturally. Nadi Shodhana uses touch, intention, and visualization to influence both hemispheres of the brain to work together. Nadi Shodhana has a natural calming effect. You want to focus on a balanced respiration to maintain the sattvic energy that you cultivated throughout the practice while sustaining the other benefits discussed in the vitalizing component. Much of the intent of the vitalizing component is continued through the cool down, which adds Brahmari to the exhalation and a short Bhayakumbhaka. Begin the practice by holding the two mudras associated with Nadi Shodhana, Jnana Mudra, the wisdom mudra, and Vishnu Mudra, the balancing mudra. The inhalation always starts through the left nostril because it represents the Ida channel and the quality of receptivity. Slowly inhale for 10 seconds through the left nostril and then exhale through the right nostril for 10 seconds using the Brahmari technique. Hold outer retention for 5 seconds. If you want to increase the energy of the practice, you can add on Uddiyana Bandha during the retention. Inhale for 10 seconds through the right nostril, exhale with the Brahmari pranayama on the left nostril, and hold for 10 seconds. The left side of the body is linked to the right hemisphere of the brain and vice versa. When breathing through the left nostril, visualize energy traveling up and down the left side of the body and stimulating the right hemisphere of your brain. Switch to the right side of the body and the left hemisphere of the brain when breathing through the right nostril. Continue the cool down exercise for approximately 5 minutes or 5 to 6 breath cycles.